About a love that was sure to end.
Hello and welcome back to This Week in Canada. My name is Roberto Wakerel Cruz. Our couch is gone, but you know who's not gone yet is Nico Johnson, always here with me as always.
Yeah, that was a huge lie just to attract some sympathy. I'm not going anywhere.
Not yet.
And you all fell for it.
Yeah, everyone, our viewers, they fell for it. No, that's not.
We're joking.
That's true. That's not. Nico is leaving us, unfortunately, but we'll get it. He'll say something about it after, because we're here to have fun. It was another fun week in Canada. I thought.
Oh, boy, was it a fun week. It wasn't as eventful as it possibly could have been, or as it has been over the last few weeks, but we still found things to talk about. And you know what? This is like the 1 week of hiatus before Trudeau introduces the throne speech. So it's sort of like a bit of a vacation for us, because we don't have to be totally pressed with news as we usually are.
Whoops.
Oh.
No, we're fine. Yeah, no, it was a little bit slower. There was a few things that happened over the weekend that we have to talk about, namely the toppling of a statue.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
That was pretty important. It is of a particular prime minister, one that was the first one. And it caused a lot of ruckus. It was a big deal. But we have other topics that we want to talk about first. Namely, the NDP's maybe only honorable MP. Not talking about Brian Massey of Windsor. We're talking about Charlie Angus, who is another just a star recently.
We hate Brian. Brian Massey, who is the MP for Windsor, which is Roberto's riding, he's useless. He won't get off TikTok. Get back into Parliament and do your job. Charlie Angus, I really do believe, is the last honourable NDP politician. And quite frankly, I'd love to have a beer with him. I think he'd be a great guy to talk to.
Yeah, I agree. And he came out and had a few big things to say this week, particularly about a Trudeau minister named Bardish Chagger. We've talked about her before. Mm-hmm. She went on to the finance committee, which Charlie Angus is a part of. And he knows what's going on. He knows the ins and outs of all these sorts of things. And basically he called for Bardish Chagger's resignation, who would be the second domino to fall in this entire We charity scandal that we're still in the fallout of.
Yeah, so what's interesting about this is that earlier in the We scandal, they've really tried to get Chagger to resign instead of Bill Morneau. So as we all know, Bill Morneau subsequently resigned. They also got tons of negative media about trying to throw her under the bus. But it turns out, as Charlie Angus proved on Twitter, of all places, that she lied under oath in testimony to the entire Canadian people and whatever committee she was in. So the only subsequent, the only way justice will come, and I believe it's illegal to lie in testimony.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that's not in the law.
Yeah, so it's pretty shocking. It's the only acceptable course of action is for her to resign. But it's challenging for the Trudeau government, because if she resigns over this, then again it sets up a precedent which they avoided by saying Morneau's resigning over differences over policy, and it actually sets a precedent for Trudeau to go on and resign. And I don't know how the Liberals are going to get out of this, because they're using the throne speech. The reason why they prorogued Parliament was to absolve themselves from responsibility, trying to get away from all these committees where they performed terribly, if you watched all of that stuff. And they're getting hit in the polls every day and getting terrible media coverage. But it hasn't gone away throughout the prorogation. It's quietened down a bit, but not hugely. And it's going to come back. They're going to have terrible coverage about their throne speech, which perhaps we'll talk about later. They're going to get bad coverage over the We scandal, because all the committees will start again. And on top of that, we now have a prime minister, not a prime minister, a leader of our opposition, who's looking pretty effective. And you know what? I think it's looking quite troubling for the Trudeau Liberals.
Yeah, I agree. And like you were saying there, I don't know exactly how they weasel out of that. I don't think they were expecting to have to potentially sacrifice another lamb in this situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got rid of Morneau, and like you said, they kind of just dodged any trouble, really, sort of, by just saying that he was the now finance minister, and he wants to see what the future, the finance minister that looks to the future does, which just makes me think that you were spending like there was no it's just a bad excuse. And now they have to deal with How do they do it? Is it another resignation? Do they make her resign? Because
really
then
difficult.
that looks worse.
Here's the thing about the Trudeau Liberals, is that there's a rich tradition in the Liberal Party, particularly under Justin Trudeau, of not resigning for just heinous acts. they think they can get away with it, and perhaps she may. Maybe she'll get shuffled out of cabinet. I think, however, she has quite a low profile, and that's another opportunity to escape it. But come on. I mean, she has to resign. You can't lie to testimony and have irrefutable evidence that you lied. And I don't even think she's offered a statement about it. No. So I think she could say, oh, sorry, I got confused. But she's either incredibly incompetent, she can't remember basic conversations she had in the last few weeks, or she's, just an overt liar. And I think it's probably the latter.
Both to me say that you should not be in the position that you're in at the moment. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time for the Trudeau Liberals. It's just, you know what the Conservatives really have to do is just keep the pressure on. There's this lull, there's a period, weeks of no action, really. There's going to be press conferences to keep people on their toes. Charlie Angus calling for resignations, things like this are good so that people don't lose their short attention spans and all that. People need to keep paying attention. So when Parliament comes back, this needs to come roaring back because it's not over. Nothing has really come of this, and it still is a big scandal. So as long as they do that, and as we can talk about in a moment, the Conservatives are polling actually pretty well with a leader. They were already catching up without one. During Andrew Scheer's goodbye period, but now they're starting to catch up really quickly. I did want to talk about something that Charlie Angus, I just want to say you are an all-star. This is actually a scandal that no one's really been talking about yet, and actually, sorry I didn't bring this up earlier during the prep period for the show, but there is a former Quebec MP, his name is Frank Baylis, and he is a decent-looking guy, kind of looks like George Clooney. He's handsome, no doubt about it. The Liberals are filled with handsome and beautiful people.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why we don't like him.
That's why we don't like him. We're jealous. Anyway, so this guy, he was a one-term MP. I believe he stepped down because he didn't show up to Parliament once because he was taking a sauna break. This is his words.
Is that real?
Yeah, it was his words, not mine. He apologized for it and then ended up not running again. It looked really bad. He missed out on some testimony that he was supposed to be at. Anyway, so he has a biomedical company in Quebec called Baylis Biomed, something along those lines. Sorry for not getting all that information. But anyway, he was awarded a contract from the Trudeau Liberals for, what is it here? Close to $250 million. That contract was supposed to go towards 10,000 ventilators, which, by the way, how much does a ventilator cost? Apparently like $250,000, something crazy like that. Which I don't even know if that sounds right. Is that too much? But anyway, it goes against the Conflict of Interest Act, which is glaring because he's a former Liberal MP that's getting this big contract. But also, the real kicker is that the ventilators that they were going to make were not approved for anywhere in Canada. These are not ventilators that we use.
What, so they didn't work?
No, they work. They're just not approved for use. Like, Canada has a list of ventilators that we use.
Oh, God.
So and these ones weren't. So the Trudeau Liberals ended up just giving all this money to a guy, handsome hunk, gorgeous honey from Montreal to make 10,000 ventilators that are all super expensive, and no one's really saying anything except for Charlie Angus, who has called for an investigation into the matter because this is a sleeping giant. I'm calling it. This is going to be something that they look into when Parliament returns. This is obviously the Conservatives are going to hop on this. The NDP of Charlie Angus, who is really the leader of any ethical NDP. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is going to be a thing. I'm calling it. That's my prediction. There's two scandals that are going to happen. And as we're going to see, I think it's going to affect the Liberals in the polls, which I think is our next topic. So, wait, hold on. Transition.
What? We've got some interesting news that actually came out this week. And I think it was an Angus Reid poll, which said the Conservatives, who obviously got a new leader 2 weeks ago, were on 35% of approval. They want to be the next government, the respondents. And the Liberal Party were also on 35%. Now that's bad. That's not great for Liberals. And the reason for that is that Erin O'Toole still isn't widely known to the public, but the coverage he's been getting, even from, rags like the Toronto Star, has been pretty positive. And because it's so positive, and because he isn't yet known, the image of him is going to sort of disseminate across Canada, and he's going to be really popular, and the Liberals keep dropping like stones in a river, tied to the corpse of Justin Trudeau's political ambitions. And, I really am beginning to think that the Conservatives are going to win the next election. Now, here's the rub. I don't know when the next election is going to be. It's either, I assume, going to be in the fall, which I think Justin Trudeau wants. He really wants it, and there's a few reasons for that, and it's quite cynical. He doesn't want the Canadian people to know about Erin O'Toole because, again, he's been getting really good coverage. And secondly, his approval ratings still aren't dog shit. They're not great, but it's not dog shit. And I think that's going to come in the spring if there's like another year. Because, as Roberto mentioned in the last segment, of all these cronyism incidents, it's so obviously corrupt, and people quite naturally don't like that. So it's looking pretty positive. And I don't know how you're feeling about it, but if I was a Conservative MP right now, or a candidate, I'd be licking my lips at the opportunity.
Yeah, I think I would be. What they really have to do is they have to be made of Teflon. Like, they just kind of have to move through all these baloney scandals that they've already tried to stick at O'Toole. For one, the whole thing about Derek Sloan, I don't really understand this. So they want Erin O'Toole to not sign the papers that allowed Derek Sloan to run again? Is that basically what it is? Yeah,
basically they want to sort of expel him from the court.
Because Derek Sloan... Yeah, okay, look, we all know Derek Sloan, he's not too bright. And that's just my opinion. He's not maybe the sharpest guy. I don't know. I don't really like him. But should he really be expelled from the party? I mean, because the Liberals said so? That seems stupid. The other baloney scandal that they're trying to scandal is this Take Back Canada thing. The whole thing about how Erin O'Toole's Take Back Canada is a dog whistle.
That's really strange. Like, the Sloan incident, I think the Conservatives are all about free speech. You may disagree with Sloan on certain issues, but the whole point of conservatism is that you allow people to have a public space in order to debate those ideas. Right. Whatever. The second point about the Take Back Canada being racist is so stupid. And what irritates me even more is that mainstream journalists are commenting on Twitter. Twitter is toxic. If you're not on it, get off. And never approach it, rather. But everyone's asking, take back Canada from whom exactly? Are we talking about taking back Canada from natives or immigrants? Or, insert minority group here.
Gays?
Yeah, women. It's like, no, we're talking about taking back Canada from Justin Trudeau, you morons. Just as in 2015, Justin Trudeau's leadership slogan was pretty much the same thing. It was like, take Canada. I forget what it was.
It was like, Canada's back.
Yeah.
Which is like a more theatrical kind of like...
Yeah, Justin Trudeau,
Canada's back.
jazz handy. Yeah. So it's really... The people who say take back Canada is racist are either willfully blind or irredeemably stupid. Irredeemably, rather.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to stick. We already seen, I mean, I don't trust polling too much. It can be an okay indicator of some things. 35%, though, that's a pretty decent showing for the Conservatives. And I really think they just need to, be headstrong, move forward, move tactically, like a lizard with a lawnmower or whatever, some expression. What? And yeah, I don't know. And and just execute what they need to do. They need to reach Canadians. They need to seem approachable. They need to have a vision. Obviously, this is something that Erin O'Toole has really been focusing on. Andrew Scheer was always just like, Trudeau bad. That was kind of the whole...
It was pretty tarring.
We're not Justin Trudeau. We're not Justin Trudeau. Meanwhile, nobody knows what you actually are. So Conservatives need to focus on an image that seems like a reasonable... just a reasonable option for voters. And that's if they do that, I think they could have a lot of success.
Andrew Scheer is a good bloke, but he was terrible at answering questions about his social values or views. And it was so irritating to watch because obviously we don't like Justin Trudeau. We want another government to take his place. But every time he was asked about his views on abortion or why he won't march in a gay pride parade, it would be so wonky and awkward. And it would, we would be pulling our hair out. Erin O'Toole in his first press conference, I think half of the questions were about either his views on abortion, which, by the way, have been, the record is clear, he's pro-choice, and it's been about, you know, what he thinks, you know, about gays or whatever. And again, he's so progressive, but it's the Liberals and the Liberal establishment just clutching at any straw they can possibly find in order to sort of paint this guy as a reactionary. He's going to take away your rights, and he's going to turn Canada into some sort of, you know, McCarthyist society. It's bizarre, and I don't think it's going to stick. He's very good at responding to those questions and concerns, and perhaps, you know, they're legitimate. And for that reason, and that's like the Liberal tactic, right? That's what they do best. They slander people for being racist or homophobic. Because he's so good at answering those questions, I, again, think it's another very positive thing in his box.
Yeah. Another thing that, you know, we come in with topics that we think we're going to talk about, but there's been a couple already that we didn't write down. Another thing that we should note that I think is going to actually play a pretty big role in the next election is this whole thing with drugs. I don't know if you guys have been following this, but the Trudeau government has been slowly kind of just like sowing the seeds of potentially decriminalizing all drugs or something. Like a little bit, right? Like there's a little bit of conversation going on. At least Dr. Theresa Tam, she wishes, Patty Hajdu saying, you know, there's no silver bullet approach. Theresa Tam saying, oh, there's a conversation maybe we should have. I think, you know what, maybe it's a tactic, but if the Conservatives do focus on that, it might be a little bit of fear-mongering.
What's weird is that...
But they need to do it because voters, especially immigrant communities, I don't think... like the Indian communities particularly want all drugs to be decriminalized. I think if they focus on that, that could even be, you know, to score a few points for single issue voters.
This particular issue is that Justin Trudeau is actually quite trepidatious about decriminalizing drugs. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't believe in it, and he's received a lot of flack. And so I'm looking at how the political landscape is shaping up for 2020. And, you know, obviously his election, it's an important year. But Justin Trudeau is being attacked by the left wing and people within his own party for his stance on not decriminalizing all drugs. He's being attacked by the right wing for even considering it. And on top of that, he is dogged by scandals. The economy, Jesus Christ, is going to get absolutely walloped by Justin Trudeau's policies. And it's not looking particularly rosy for the Liberal Party.
Yeah, and I do need to say this where credit's due. Justin Trudeau said it wasn't something that he was considering at the time being, when he was asked, I think a month or two ago, if all drugs should be decriminalized. And you're right, I don't think he really wants to do that. I think he kind of knows it's a pretty unpopular position. And it's just a few people that are, you know, look at Portugal and say, hey, they legalized everything, why can't we do that? And also cure everyone of their addictions or at the same time. It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but transition.
Oh yeah, we should do a transition.
Let's talk about the statue.
Transition.
You can't drink all of that. No way. Yeah, you're struggling already. You're such a girl.
What a great transition. Sorry. What a great transition. Everyone, leave a like for James, who is our producer. Anyway, we have the next topic, which is probably the biggest story in Canada and from Canada. I think it made some splashes, some waves across the border. John A. Macdonald, a statue of him that was erected in 1895 in Montreal's Place du Canada, which stands for, that means Canada Place, was torn down. It was torn down by who? Just a mob. Just a mob of people. Who are they? Well, they believe that there should be no police, and they're acting like there aren't any either.
Or Canada.
Or Canada. So the John A. Macdonald statue, as I just said, was torn down. Valerie Plante, the mayor of Montreal, we don't really know where the police were. There was no real follow-up on this.
Who let these morons, these group of nihilistic yuppies, pull down a fucking 12-foot statue in the middle of Montreal? It's bizarre. Like, where the hell were the police?
It's weird because Valerie Plante has come on record and said that she does not actually believe in tearing down statues. She believes in like correctional plaques. So you put a plaque in front of it, which, by the way, I think is probably this is probably the best way to do it. You're going to appease more people by doing that. I would even say just don't even bother. But like, if you need to do something, do that.
Yeah.
Put a plaque that said John A. Macdonald founded Canada, hated natives, or just thought they were weird at the very least. Okay. So the statue gets torn down. She said that she didn't want the statue torn down. She condemned it. The Bloc Québécois condemned it. The CAQ, the CAQ, Francois Legault condemned
Francois
it.
Legault. What a based politician.
Nico loves Francois Legault. And Justin Trudeau's response was, as I kind of predicted, didn't really appease anyone. It didn't really do enough for the radicals, which is good, by the way. But it didn't really do enough for me. And this is kind of the reason why.
He's a radical of a different variant.
On the other side, it's like a boomerang. But no, just joking. I'm very moderate. And so Justin Trudeau said he condemns violence and what's it called when you deface something in public?
Defacing something in public.
Yeah. Vandalism. So he said he did not like vandalism and did not like violence of any kind of.
He was disappointed.
He was disappointed in the protesters, which, while that might sound good, he's not actually saying he didn't like that the statue was torn down. Which is really weird. I think there should be a...
Well, he's trying to toe the middle line.
He's trying to toe the middle line, but who does that win over? It doesn't really win me over. It doesn't win radicals over. It doesn't win the right or really the extreme left. It just, if you don't really pay attention, I guess it satisfies you.
Yeah.
But it was a BS move. This is a part, and I don't want to go on too much of a rant, but this is a statue of the guy that made Canada.
And bear in mind, right, Canada wasn't inevitable. It wasn't as though it was always going to happen. John A. Macdonald's role in founding Canada was essential. It wouldn't have happened without him. He was a political master. He managed to sort of make everyone happy. And through quite a lot of skill, Canada was founded as a result of his leadership. Now, also, here's another point that's weird about John A. Macdonald. He's not actually the worst here. His views on things that we consider to be quite sensitive now obviously weren't great, but he was also a product of his age. If you really want to go after a politician who created residential schools, then the guy who followed him is the correct candidate. If you want to go after him for, weird stances on women, then it's two prime ministers after that. I forget their names. I do apologize. So I think John A. Macdonald has come to be a symbol of early Canada itself. And everything that comes along with that, and indeed Canada itself. And the fact that these rabid, frothing at the mouth mobs tear it down, the reason why they're doing it isn't because they dislike John A. Macdonald or his policies. They don't know what his policies are. They don't know what he's like. They're doing it because they dislike Canada. Because the idea of Canada is wrong and unjust in their view. And it's right that we should not bow to these people. I think there's perfectly legitimate discussions to have about the police, or even about Canada's, early history. But when you attack a fairly innocuous, prime minister, he was essential to Confederation. But after Confederation, he wasn't the most important prime minister in Canada's history. It's an attack on this country itself, which is why you can't give them any attention. They need to be condemned totally by every politician on the left and the right.
Yep. I agree. And if you want to talk about someone that really went crazy with residential schools, after everyone knew they were bad.
In the 80s.
In the 80s, another guy named Trudeau, older, smarter, less handsome, his name's Pierre, started a bunch of residential schools when it was already pretty out of fashion. So here's what I think is going to happen. I can't wait for the day. And actually, I shouldn't say that. I want this to happen. But at some time, eventually, we've already seen Pierre Trudeau's statue defaced with blackface like twice. Eventually, someone's going to tear it down. And that's going to be an interesting response.
And it's not going to come from the right. It's going to come from the left for his policies, about certain things. And of course, Pierre Trudeau was an enormous progressive. He made Canada in his own image. And the sort of country we experience now with mental economic policies and policies which aren't mental, of multiculturalism and bilingualism, are as a result of Pierre Trudeau's prime ministerialship. Yeah. So even with that, they're still going to come to him. No one is safe from these mobs. And when they do, it's going to put Justin Trudeau into a unique position where he can change the Langevin bloc in Ottawa, where he can be a bit lukewarm about the tearing down of the statue. But what, is he not going to condemn his father being defaced? Of course he is. And perhaps that's why he did condemn, or sort of again, it was not really a condemnation. It was a sort of a disapproving shrug. But perhaps that's why he knows this is going to happen. Yeah. And when it does, that's when we will actually have the opportunity to tell these young nihilistic assholes to go away.
I couldn't have said it better myself, unless I tried. But I think that's about it. I think we covered all the topics. I think we got it done. So let's do one last transition into the outro. To the outro, and thank you for watching. My name, again, is Roberto Waker Cruz. This is Nico Johnson, and we want to thank you for watching.
It's been an enormous pleasure. And yeah, no, we really do appreciate you all.
I don't really know what to say, because I kept on doing this whole mustache thing. Leave a like for my mustache to be gone, and now it's gone.
I want an eyebrow.
I'm not doing an eyebrow. I will, again, provide an offer that I don't even know what to say. Just leave us a like, and maybe I'll shave my head. I don't really know how this is going to work out. Please leave us a like. Leave us a comment. We love the comments. We have a blast reading them, to be honest. Let us know if there's anything you want to see on the show. And yeah, thank you for watching.
Thank you
episode
so much.
14 of This Week in Canada.
We're getting up there. There's a few episodes now.
Yeah, we're building a catalog. So yeah, go back, watch the old episodes, leave a like to those ones too, and have a good week. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.